everyone to Integrate Yourself. We are your hosts, Allison Pillow and Maya Gottlieb. You can find me at mayagottlieb.com and you can find Allison at pureenergypdx.com. Today we have a special guest. His name's Kevin Ramirez. He's the owner of Empower Supplements. The supplements are a natural amino acid formulated for fast absorption and optimum health. Amino PROs contains 3,240 milligrams of ultra pure branched chain amino acids, which excludes cysteine, tryptophan, methionine, and cysteine, which promote stress, inflammation, and poor metabolism. You can find this product at www.empower.life. Kevin, who has an amazing background. He did training in nutrition with exercise and focusing mostly in neuroscience with the Z Health since 2009. He tells us that he comes from a family of perennials of dieters looking for silver bullets. He learned early on in his life that the value of perseverance and that shortcuts don't work. So one of his best learning tools is discipline. As he calls it, is his mistress. Relentless, she's relentless, and she forgives as long as you get back on your horse. Kevin, welcome to the show. I hope you like that intro.
That was awesome.
So Kevin is starting something that is probably the hardest entrepreneurial business to ever start, and that is the supplement company. He's learned a lot from the growth of being a business entrepreneur in this, and he's actually staying true to his passion of giving pure formulated amino acids to help people really be able to assimilate and absorb and not be just another product on the shelf that actually takes more out of you and gives to you. So Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about what it makes Amino PRO, your Amino PRO, so special?
Sure. I mean, first I should probably just touch on the fact that a lot of the language that we use, we have to use. Oh, sorry. Now look at my kids showing up just as we start to talk.
Okay, we edit.
She's super cute though.
Yes, they are.
So listen, let's basically start with the marketing language, right? So part of the problem is we have to use a certain amount of marketing language just because everybody's inundated with it, and we have to use it to just be able to compete, to get people through the door to look at us. But our rule is we're absolutely not going to put anything in our products that you don't need. If there's no way to realistically justify it, or if it has a negative effect on your health, we're not going to use it. That's why, as you know, as we were talking before this kicked off, our product is encapsulated so that we get the exact ratio. We only use vegetable gelatin. Eventually, when we can afford to have two product lines that are basically identical, but one uses beef gelatin or animal gelatin and one uses vegetable gelatin, we'll do that. Eventually, we might have sachets that are a single serving in a packet. So even if they get mixed around, you're using the whole sachet of 5 grams or 10 grams, and the ratio will stay the same. But the language, you know, like ultra pure and all this stuff, there's no real definition for that stuff. Everybody uses a lot of language, but how we back up what we do is, I would bet, the last I calculated, we're somewhere between 25 and 30% of the cost of the product is just in testing. So we do microbial testing, partly because almost all the amino acids, almost all of the time, are through bacterial fermentation. So that process right there, there's always a potential, right, in anything that can get contaminated. So we do bacteriological testing, we do heavy metals testing, we do purity testing, which is probably one of the most expensive. So what we say is on the bottle is verified by a third-party independent testing. We just added gluten testing, and our plan is to, although we know that there's no dairy, that there's no sugar, not that sugar is bad, but so for some people, if they take the product and they're on a keto diet, they may want to know that. And eventually we want to do drug testing as well for the product so that it could be used by tested athletes. All that stuff costs, even if you know it's not in there, to be able to claim it and to be able to have our Health Canada license. So Health Canada licensed us. We have a Health Canada number. So it's it's called an NPN number, Natural Health Products Number. To get it, you have to prove every batch has in it what you say it has in it and nothing more. And so they want you to prove that it's got those values. And actually I had one person on the Repeat, is that Repeat forum page? It's not not a page, it's a website. And it was great. It was just one of those conversations where people are calling you out and they're basically calling you a liar, saying there's no way you can get that level of exactness of 50 milligrams per capsule. And I'm like, I'm like, shh. I'm like, oh, well, hey, listen, let me just send you a couple of copies of the last 2 batches of third-party independent testing where you can say the required amount's 50 milligrams and we got 49, 48, 51, we're within less than 5% or something of that of every time. And so it's what they call a USP, I think it is, standard. And so it was great because instead of arguing with me afterwards, he said, wow, I've been proven wrong. And I thought, I felt like there was angels singing in the background.
That's amazing.
That just never happens on the internet, right? Like,
no,
you're wrong. Hold up, it's like, I need to record this. I need to do a screen print. Like, I've got people hunting me down on Facebook, and they're like, you can't be for real. Like, you're obviously scamming people with your 15 reviews, 15 5-star. I'm like, yeah, I pay people for those. Yeah, certainly.
So tell us a little bit about the formula and how
we got it.
why those certain ones that I just mentioned aren't in there, and why that needs to be that way. And then also tell them what would be the way to approach your product in terms of purchasing, how many you think that they would, suit them, and kind of talk to them about the dosage and all.
Cool. There's a lot we could talk about in terms of the formulation. It actually, as we were talking about earlier, we were talking about Zachariah Salazar, and shout out to my mentor, and Meander to Greatness on his page. But we've actually talked a lot about, is there a way to make this product better? Because at the root of everything, once we get past a few other things I'll explain shortly, the liver needs amino acids and it needs B vitamins to do all the detox. There's no such thing as a detox tea or detox anything. The liver does it all. And I thought, well, hey, maybe we should add B vitamins. We tried to talked every angle. He's like, dude, what if the person has lots of B vitamins in their diet? Then you're giving them something they don't need. It takes up space in the capsule. It increases cost. You have to pass that on to the user. He said, right now, somebody can add B vitamins that they can buy from Georgie, from Ideal Labs, another shout out, great guy. Or they can get them any other way they want to get them, Whole Foods, whatever, right? He said, your product is already, we can't think of a way to make it better. I mean, the only one that we've discussed about maybe throwing around for athletes would be one that has a much higher beta alanine content. That's it. We can't think of anything else. So the formula, why it's so magical. The average diet or the foods that we have right now are really high in things like methionine. I can never say that word. You did a lot better than I did. Cysteine.
Say it fast enough. It does sound.
Yeah. Methionine, tryptophanine.
Sounded good.
Yeah. Well, I got a PhD in bullshitology.
There's actually a good Facebook thing that was sent out. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, I need to practice. So because those amino acids are ubiquitous, and no one's saying you don't need them in some level, right? But they're high. They're really, really high in our foods and the typical foods that we eat. And we have to think this product isn't targeted at a single demographic. It's not targeted at somebody who is on a perfect Repeat diet or on or has perfect health already. This is really targeted for people that it could be used by I hate to say panacea, because then you're like, you can't market panacea. When you talk about, if you have a knee pain, do you go see your general doctor who says he's good at doing every joint in the body? Or do you go to a guy who says, listen, all I do is knees. Every day I do knees. 365 days a year I do knees. I'm the knee guy. If you got a knee problem, come to me. So if you pitch a product, and even if it is good for everybody, you can't pitch it that way. But really, it literally is an amazing protein supplement. If you add it to a protein-rich meal, it will balance out your ratios a lot better. It'll make the protein you're already taking in better. I'll tell you why in a second. If you take it by itself with a bunch of carbs, it'll suck up free-floating amino acids that are in your body already that may be too high in some ratio, lowering those in your favor. Those amino acids we talked about tend to drive, tend to drive inflammation or inflammation and a bunch of other factors, including serotonin, like tryptophan feeds into serotonin. That can affect your gut health, where 95% of serotonin is created, and is linked usually to peristalsis, so the movement of the smooth muscles of the lining of the stomach. And usually you think about that in response to stress. So think all those people that love to eat their salads and their high fiber diets. Mm-hmm. And they think that because now they have a bowel movement that their doctor is a wizard. Yeah. Not exactly a good thing. It's really context dependent. So we don't want to drive those processes anymore. So if we take those things out, we know that people have those other amino acids in their diet. This is going to create a better balance for them, drop inflammation, help with gut health. If you're not having to break apart proteins to get the amino acids, your creation of ammonia is tanking anywhere from 85%. In the case of vegetarians, they lose 85% or more of their proteins lost to the conversion of ammonia, all the way down. Let's say if you're eating an egg, which is the best source in terms of bioavailability, you're going to lose 55% of that to the conversion of ammonia, which means fully half. And maybe I can pull up an example for you. I did a really interesting comparison between, like, if you look at the size of a protein meal. I think here's the one. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of, here's the one I came up with is, so ribeye, right? I think an ounce of ribeye is 28 grams. Of that, 4.6 grams is fat. 7.6 out of the 28 grams is protein. Now, if you're thinking you only get to keep 25% of that, that's 2 grams.
Right.
But you're going to take in 71 calories, and you're going to convert that other 5 grams of protein into ammonia.
So talk about why ammonia is important and what that key part is, because that leads into nitric oxide. It goes into
why do we convert that into ammonia as well? Like why, maybe just explain to people why that happens.
Yeah. So in the process of breaking it down, it's a byproduct of the breakdown of protein. And if you think about, if you've ever smelled ammonia, you smell it at 1 part per million. That's a really, really low level. You pick it up really, really fast because it's really noxious. 300 parts per million can kill you.
And this usually happens with people that eat too much protein, right?
So
like
when you and I would have been bodybuilding.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you were on that keto diet that you thought you were so smart because you were going to eat 300 grams of protein and almost no carbs, and you're going to get your carbs from converting, or you're going to get your sugar from converting protein, except that process is so inefficient that the amount of ammonia is pouring out of your pores as you walk around the gym.
Yeah. Okay.
I might look big, but I smell like
Yeah. I've smelled that before. Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And
so the ammonia.
Go ahead.
So the ammonia is a huge process, or a huge load, not only on the gut in terms of inflammation, basically just from volume. And think about it: the moment something in your gut reduces the efficiency of your gut and you get inflammation, you start to get leaky bowel or leaky gut syndrome. So now things that shouldn't be passing across the abdominal or the intestinal wall are passing across. You're probably triggering a immune response, and probably think about all the autoimmune diseases that are linked to that. Yeah. All of a sudden you have this, you don't know why you have an allergy to chicken all of a sudden. But anyway, so the ammonia can drive part of that process, feed into making that imbalance in the gut and driving inflammation. Now your liver has to remove that ammonia from the system, convert it to urea, pass it to the kidneys. Urea in and of itself is not a problem. Sometimes we supplement with urea, and we can use high levels of urea supplementation in terms of fighting cancer. That's been seen really interesting. Like 6 doses a day of urea have been used to treat various forms of cancer really aggressively. However, when you've already got an inflamed gut, now your liver is working overtime. Your kidneys, the side effect of that high urea may not be worth, or the benefit of that high level of urea probably can't counterbalance the rest of the load on the system. So when you take a straight up amino acid, and tying this back to detoxification, the liver has a 2-stage detoxification process where it's using amino acids and B vitamins to remove toxins. First encapsulates them. Kind of think about example, and this is obviously not going to be great for any scientist out there. Think about like a Walmart or Costco parking lot. Going into the parking lot, you got cars going in, and they're looking. That's their first stage, and then they're looking for a parking stall so that they can exchange, people and groceries and then head out again. So if there are no parking stalls because you're missing enough B vitamins, enough amino acids, the cars are doing the rounds inside the parking lot and they're building up traffic. And now those first stage metabolites of detoxification are worse than the original items that you're trying to detox your body from. They're meant to be passed quickly through second stage and get rid of, but you're not allowing that to happen because you don't have enough amino acids. Think of almost every woman you've ever had in a training program in your life. Oh, when we did an image of what 90 grams of protein, that's where we would start our clients at, or for women. I can't tell you how many clients said, I don't eat that much protein in like 3 days. I'm like,
right.
And you wonder why you have metabolism issues, skin issues, libido, thyroid issues. Like, you don't give enough nutrition for what you're trying to do. And then they think they just need to hit the box harder and sleep less.
Yeah. And then hysteria hits and you've got the whole cascade of symptoms that women start to have, and gets even worse. Vertigo.
It's so much harder to manage a woman's hormone system than it is for a man's, I think.
I think so too. And actually, there was one woman I worked with that had done a water fast for an entire month, and she was in bad shape. Yeah.
Wow.
It was incredible. I was like, I can't believe you're still alive.
Incredible.
I mean, wow. Right? Yeah.
There was an interesting book I read from the 50s on fat. I'm trying to remember what it's called now. It had some case studies in there that were mind-blowing. Like a guy that had lost hearing in one ear, had heart issues, bowel issues, all these issues. And this doctor recommended water fasting in some cases for 3 months. Yeah, he kept them bedridden though. He wouldn't allow them to do exercise. And in this guy recovered hearing, he healed a whole bunch of things. And so you can see how.
Right. Well, that makes sense, right? Because he's not doing anything. He's not using any energy. Yeah.
He sure wasted away, I bet.
Yeah. Muscle-wise, everything. Wow,
but you're saying he healed some things that he had been trying to heal, by doing that. In which I was just talking to Maya about this the other day. I heard this. I was listening to a podcast, Rhonda Patrick's podcast. My husband sent me the episode, and it was about fasting and how they're now trying to use the fasting for certain really extreme health issues. But, then again, it's like, it's so, it has to be in the right context. Like you're saying, like that person needs to not be doing anything else, but, people are going to be using it for weight loss, and they're going to also, use it out of context and still do all the activity they're doing probably.
Sure.
So that's the problem with something like that. Something like that could be possibly, there could be something good that could come out of it short term. But I don't know. I kind of feel I'm going in the direction of thinking now that there's actually there's a better way for even extreme issues like that. So, I mean, and this could be what you're selling, Kevin, could be that one of those possibilities maybe for people to rebuild and start to rebuild the nervous system or our immunity after there's just some severe issues I've heard people go through that just seem like impossible. But I think it's an underlying factor of low energy a lot of times. So,
comes back to what Pete was saying with that structure and interdependence of structure and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk back it up a little bit and talk about where you got you said you were with Zachariah and you kind of put it together, but the formula itself comes from
Georgie.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He is the independent researcher that actually his products are called Ideal, and he does a lot of supplementation in terms of vitamin B's, E, A, K, all the essentials. What was the context and where you found the recipe and what kind of came about through that story?
So basically, I found it really interesting, and the guy is such a gentleman. So basically what happened, I get a phone call, like I was telling you, 6 months into losing my shirt on the downturn in the oil and gas industry. And I get a phone call, and I'm chewing the fat with my mentor, Zach. And out of the blue, he says, "Hey man, looks like I got stage 3, possibly stage 4 renal failure." And I'm like, what? Like my jaw hits the floor. It's like one of the guy who knows, him and his wife, Leah, I mean, girlfriend, wife, whatever. I always get that wrong. They're together. That's what matters. the smartest two people I have ever met in my life. I mean, sometimes I can't see, it's like the peak of Everest comes out from the clouds and I think I understand what they're saying. And then the clouds close and I go, I must be that fish in the pond looking up at the monkeys. Anyways, it's amazing. So he drops this on me and I just didn't know what to say. And I said, so what are we going to do? And we started discussing options and what drives the problem. And then that happened a couple of times. And we basically, he stumbled across, to be fair, he stumbled across the information on the Ray Pete Foreman discussion that Georgie was leading about protein and some research that had been done in burn patients and cancer patients and stuff in hospitals using at the MAPS, I think it was something like MAPS protocol or something like that. But they had methionine and cysteine and whatever in there. And he didn't think that was optimal. And so using that research as a springboard, he said, this is how I would structure the formula. And he cited a bunch of research and then a bunch of people were talking back and forth about the values of this and that, the virtues of what. And I ended up reaching out to him and, hey, listen, can we go ahead and make this? And once I get it up, I'll send you some to trial. So he's like, man, run with it. Like, this isn't locked down. This isn't, proprietary. This is an idea we're just floating out there, and go ahead and run with it. So I thought we could knock this out in 3 months, and I was sorely mistaken. I thought, yeah, this would be just a matter of calling up some blender, figuring out what the minimum buy level is, and getting some people that want it. Well, obviously people that don't know me in groups should trust me that I'm going to just take their money, give them a product in 90 days. Because, hey, I'm a trustworthy guy. Why wouldn't you send me $100 just on a PayPal account that's not linked to a business as a gift to a friend? Trust me. But that's where we started. We took the formula, reached out to some people, found that we could get it done, and then we needed money, and we needed a boatload of money. So we said, hey, listen, we need a bunch of these people to kick in $100 each. We thought that was cost. We thought, oh yeah, this will cover it. It doesn't cover the 200-300 plus hours of work, the 12 months it took to get the first shipment. It doesn't cover paying people to do label designs, find out which approvals you need, how to get your NPN from Health Canada. The list is long as my arm of the things. It's not what you know that you know, what you know that you don't know. It's what you don't know that costs a lot of money. And so we were probably selling the product at a loss on that first batch. And in fact, I'm sure that we did, because we certainly didn't pay ourselves anything. We certainly haven't paid ourselves a penny yet. And we're 2.5 years, I think, into this now. As Kerwin Ray says, look to 10 years.
Yeah.
So we got 7.5 more to go.
But you got great reviews. Like, people have just really responded to your aminos in terms of what each story talks about. And even you have it on your website, but there, you can go to Amazon.com and you can see there's a lot of people who are just saying such amazing things about your experiencing your aminos. And so tell the listeners, what would they start off with? Like, you talked about a 6-pack you had, and then that's sold out, which I'm not very happy about. But talking about,
very sorry. I'm living and learning. I'm not a business guy. I'm having to learn. Like, it's like I messed up.
I just want that secret message that says it's available and you can get it now before everybody else, right?
And just send her an email.
I promise you. Hey, sign up for the newsletter. No, it's going on Amazon here in a couple of weeks. I hope, I pray, no other surprises come and bite us in the butt. Yeah. But it's at the process now where they'll be sending a truck to pick it up from the manufacturer. They will palletize it, mark each box, and then ship it to Amazon for distribution. And we believe, although I don't want to put my John Hancock to it just yet, that it should be available on Amazon.ca for Prime members, Amazon.com for Prime members. That's a certainty. It might have a different cost based on Prime, but for certain, everybody will be able to buy it. And Amazon.mx. Haven't figured out Europe yet. Still looking for a deal there.
So the dosage.
Dosage, right. Yeah. So I have to take a liability stance here. So I'm going to share information with you two ways.
You're not a doctor.
Yeah. I'm not a
And you
doctor.
don't act like one on TV.
I don't play one on TV. Although some people would say I talk like an egotistical one. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. So the recommended dosage, according to Health Canada, and I will tell you why it says that, is 6 capsules a day, which no one I know uses that dosage.
It's a lot, right?
It's a
Is
little.
it a lot? Oh, that's not. Oh, that's a little.
This is an 18 cap. This is an 1800 cap bottle, and it was designed for a man my size to supply their primary protein needs for 30 days. Do the math.
Oh, so this is like you have to take it every day. I haven't taken aminos in forever, so I'm not really sure.
No,
okay.
Do you have to eat protein every day?
Yes.
I think you got us on that one.
Well, I don't take supplements. I don't think of it like that.
Simulate 7% from.
Here, let me do you another one. So what's the rule of thumb? This is how much in terms of a portion?
4
ounces, right?
Yes.
So
it's a serving of protein, right? 1 serving of protein. Yeah.
So 4 ounces of steak, the palm of my hand. Right?
Yeah.
And we said that an ounce was 28 grams, of which you got 7.6 grams as actual protein and 71 calories. But of that 7 grams of protein, you only got 2.
Right.
6 capsules of this is equivalent to 1.6 grams of 1.6 ounces of steak.
Okay.
So if you want a ribeye steak, so if you wanted to get 4 ounces, you would need more than 6, right? 6 times 3 would not fill up the palm of your hand.
Okay.
But that would be the equivalent of 4 ounces of steak. And if you're comparing it to other things, it would be more or less because steak is only 25% bioavailable in terms of the actual protein. Remember, protein is not all the steak. You eat all the steak and you get fat and you get fibers and this other stuff in there that aren't all protein. So only 1/4 of that 4 ounces of steak, 1/4 of that 4 ounces of steak is actually protein, and only 25% of that, i.e. the 1/4 of an ounce, is actual bioavailable protein. And you're going to pay for that through 3/4 of an ounce of ammonia and all the extra calories. So this is almost not quite zero calories. So here's the benefits. I think it's 1.2 calories per gram or 1.4 calories per gram. So it's almost 0 calories. It's really low. It will give you all the protein requirements in the least inflammatory way. And you can take it with a straight up carbohydrate.
So people who can't do the math and just got lost in what you said.
We're going to post some
you
cold
can
notes.
replay it.
Can you actually tell them
carry the 2?
Can you actually tell them the amount of unsolicited in terms of you're not recommending it?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that right
standards.
Now. I promise I get distracted.
Yeah, no. It just we talking about 20 a day? What are we doing to get it like a 90 grams of protein a day? Awesome.
So Health Canada says 6, and that's because I should preface that first. So when we applied for our NPN, this was another learning lesson. If you want to exceed each amino acid, if it was to be taken alone, has a maximum dose per day. So they don't take into account that a mixture of 9 amino acids might be really close to any protein that you would find in nature, which you could eat as much as you could potentially put down your throat and there would be no warning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because a single amino acid has medicinal-like properties, we kind of shortcut the process and said, okay, we need an NPN fast. So what's the maximum number of capsules based on this ratio that we can have to get an NPN within the maximum allowable limit per each amino acid? So we're in the process of getting an NPN with a higher recommended dosage, but that could take another 6 months. So following their recommendation, unless your physician says otherwise or your health consultant or healthcare provider says otherwise, how much do I take? And I'll give you some other examples. I have gone 60 capsules a day for 2 months, no problem, as my primary source of protein. That basically replaces 100 plus, about 100 grams of protein. So that I've done that for 2 months at a time on 2 different stretches, 0 problems. A lot of things get fixed actually. And it's really easy, and my food costs go down because this is a hell of a lot cheaper than almost any protein you can buy. And of course, the benefits being it's portable, you don't get any ammonia, it's heat stable, blah, 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 right? My wife, who is about half my body weight, she'll take 30 to 40 a day, every day, and has been for as long as we've been making the product. I've gone as high as 100 capsules a day for multiple days, up to a week. Never had any problems. Again, I'm replacing other proteins. I'm on the move. I'm traveling. When you're traveling, it's really hard to get quality protein. It's really easy to get orange juice and Coke and milk and stuff like that, sugar. The thing is, the process involving any protein typically is a process that can be inflammatory. So the consumption of glucose mediates that, as well as I always try to take salt. You know, salt's another bad guy.
About 30 pills a day in terms of what we're breaking it down to, 30 to 40.
Let me do some quick math here. I was using 60, so I'm gonna just take it. I should have studied apparently for this test.
Just trying to make it easier for people to understand why you're going to tell people to take that many things. The scare that comes out of people now is that I'm supplementing something I should get out of nature, or why am I going to load myself up? And we've talked about the non-fillers that you've put in there and the non-things that kind of lock up the system. But still, the idea of taking that many pills kind of throws people into this like, well, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't like taking pills, or, I've done this before and they promise this and that. So like just trying to get a basis so people kind of know why.
I know this is such a hard question to overcome. And it's, Einstein said, make everything as simple as you possibly can, but no simpler. And I have tried. So I'm going to continue to try again here. And I appreciate your patience. I've got a friend of mine, Keith Weber, who's a physiotherapist and a freak athlete. He's done one of my videos, done one of the video reviews. He's been eating, I think, vegan for his daughter's sake for almost a year now. And this guy's just a freak Ironman triathlete, kettlebell. He's the guy that created extreme kettlebell videos of, like, there's 3 of them. He's a Ken doll. He's incredible. The guy's just a freak. But he was on as low as 6 caps 3 times a day. And he's like a ripped Greek god.
Yeah, that was my question: is can you take not 30, but maybe 6 and still be okay?
I think anything is a plus. But if you want therapeutic benefits, I think you have to make the leap. And I'm not disparaging anybody's intelligence, but if you're prepared to sit down and eat 4 ounces if you realize that you need protein for your liver. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise your liver can't detox what's going on. So you realize that your piece of steak, your piece of whatever you're going to eat, or your 2 giant scoops of protein powder, or your 2 liters of milk, if these are all things that are okay by volume, then why is a handful of caps? You're not making the jump. You're not you. The individual is saying, well, this is synthesized. Well, last time I tried chewing white willow bark to get 352 milligrams of aspirin, it didn't work out so good for me. There's nothing wrong with processed, right? It's you have to break this psychological barrier where people have been told that processed is bad, white is bad, white is death. No, it's not. We refine something to get exactly what we want. So we refine sugar beets into sugar and sugar cane into sugar, both of them molecularly identical, and you can't tell that they came from a sugar beet, or they came from a banana, or they came from a potato, or it's like vodka, like if you distill it enough, you don't know where it came from.
Right.
So this is what people are forgetting, is that whatever protein you eat, you're going to get amino acids. Each of those proteins is going to give you a different number of amino acids, a different profile, and you're going to pay a price for it. This is pure, refined, and it saves you. You can get, let's say you wanted to get 100 grams of protein. You can get 100 grams of protein with Amino PRO. I can't remember if it's 30 caps or what. I have to do the math again. I will get back to that. When you guys are talking and I'm not talking, I'll do the math. And think about that. 100 grams of protein is 400 calories. Now in here, it's 140 calories. That means you just got yourself 260 bonus calories to either slim yourself down or munch on your favorite other foods to fill yourself up.
And you're still getting nutrients. You're not nutrient deficient. Hey.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
As you could be pounding the OJ for your potassium and your carbs and salt you want to put in there, whatever you need, and capping while you're traveling, while you're driving your car.
Do you know how much it's going to weigh to carry all that stuff?
A lot less than raw steak.
I think this would be a really great option for people who travel a lot, though. And especially, you know, with all the stress of traveling and you're around people on sick people on a plane or whatever. And so this is a much better, also supplement than something like gelatin, I'm guessing.
So remember, any protein, gelatin is awesome in that the gelatin powder is predominantly protein.
Oh,
so
right.
It's not like it's 100 grams of powder of which 25 grams is protein. It's like 28 grams of powder of which 26 grams is protein. So it's really good, except that the prolamine, I think, isn't there? Proline that's in there can be problematic for some people. It was for me, but I'm always the deep end of the pool kid. So if one is good as a bodybuilder, 100 must be better. So yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, gelatin was coffee. Then it was in everything I cooked, and it was in everything I did. So I know Ray Pete said 30%. I was probably getting like 60. I don't know. It was a lot. And then it got to the point where I just couldn't stomach it. And I just, for the first time in maybe a year and a half, I made Jell-O the other day and enjoyed it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah. There are some people, and I've had the experience myself, that way too much gelatin can just wreak havoc. And you know, and there's another conversation we can have about that, but it just seems like it doesn't stimulate as well at a certain degree of amounts, that certain people have to find that amount that works for them, for their best of them. But you know, it is the best way to kind of keep that tryptophan from affecting you as much or causing
when you have the meat. Yeah.
When you have the meat.
I usually add it to loose meat or something like that. Yeah. Or a soup or sauce or something. Yeah.
You know, what we love doing with it, although you can get it from making a bone broth, is we always cook the kids love rice, and we always cook rice with gelatin or a bone broth.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. I usually use bone broth, but I didn't think about gelatin. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's an old school way of getting protein in your rice, and it makes, you know, obviously the quality of the rice is so much richer in flavor.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Happy to help.
Well,
so
cool.
Kevin, talk a little bit about your like what your bigger picture of like this whole project is like. Obviously you're making the product to get out there for yourself and people that you know and you love, and you're trying to help people, and yet you want to be on a bigger scope, I would assume. So kind of tell us what your like plans that you really were looking towards.
Yeah. So the main thing for us is exactly what we said. And I don't know if it's still on the new webpage that we had put up or if it's on the old bio, but it sounds cliche, and I know of a bunch of other companies have done it. And I think probably also with the best of intentions, we just happen to have the benefit of guys like Zachariah and Georgie and Ray Pete and Kate Deering and people like yourselves on, you know, kind of leading the pack, trying to help other people see what's out there. We know that these fillers and bonding agents and colors and dyes and flavors, they might make your product easy to pitch and easy to drink, but they wouldn't help the distribution of our product. They wouldn't help our clients, because you can't keep these 9 amino acids separate at the right ratio unless you put them in a capsule. And so people that don't want to take a capsule, I tell them to pull them apart. But we want to make products that aren't going to cause harm and that will absolutely work. There's no thing that works for everyone. I think I've had, believe it or not, out of all the people that have tried the product, I've had 2 people write me that said, one of them said it kind of made them sleepy. I'm thinking cortisol was reduced. And of course, this, you know, they got to come from our world for them to understand that statement. And then I think one other person was wigged out by the beta alanine effect. By the way, that when you take 60 plus capsules a day, you're absolutely going to get the tingle. And then by the time you cut back to a lower dosage, you're never going to see the tingle again. I don't know why, but I don't get it anymore. I take additional beta alanine, and I have to take 3 grams at a time to get even a slight tingle.
Did you say tingle?
Yeah, you may want to explain that one, because
I don't know what you mean by that.
Nobody knows. Okay, nobody. Beta alanine is is beta.
The tingle is starting to freak me out now.
Oh my God. You're gonna get
Where am I
tingle
getting
from
this
your
tingle?
product.
And then it goes away.
Yeah.
Like,
And you're going to want more because
Is
you're
it
going to
a
want the
good
tingle again.
tingle? Is it a bad tingle? I don't know.
I'm feeling warm right now.
You get a little extra coming out.
Yeah. So beta alanine, nobody knows what causes this tingle. So it's like you know what niacin's like, right? That's a kind of an uncomfortable flush. It's nothing as extreme as that, but it's this tingle you get all over your body. Although some people have said it's uncomfortable. I've never had it be uncomfortable. I've had it just be like, weird, I'm kind of tingly, and then it goes away. I'm kind of tingling.
So are we looking at neuroception?
That's the best
Yeah.
guess that anybody has. Nobody knows the cause. Nobody's been able to lock it down. So beta alanine bonds with histidine, and it creates carnosine. Carnosine is super, super cool as a performance aid. And the only way you can get carnosine to truly do its work is, guess what? Intravenous or intramuscular. And it's really expensive.
Right.
And it's the only way you can get it to work. The way this works, you have free form histamine or histidine out there in your food, and it's getting soaked up by the beta alanine and converted into carnosine, which is really expensive. And you get it as a free byproduct of taking our product. And cysteine gets bound up by glycine and creates what's that super powerful free radical scavenger? I have it up on let me get to it.
It's on my tip of my tongue because I know
yeah.
we've been talking about reason why you want to take glycine with cysteine.
Glutathione.
Glutathione, yeah.
Talk about glutathione, why you need glycine with cysteine to make glutathione, and why it's important, so that we can understand the amino part you were talking about.
Cool. So what we know is that these things get picked up, so they bond with each other and they create a third product, basically is what happens. Glutathione is a free radical scavenger. It's super, super powerful. I think it's one of the most powerful, other than superoxidase dismutase, I think is the other one, SOD, that are the two of the most powerful. And again, glutathione, you can only get it intravenously, that consistently in a consistent doses easily that we know of, either IV or IM. And that product is stupid expensive. And we don't know how great the results are and how easy it is to consistently get it. I'm not saying that our product is as effective as intramuscular or IV glutathione, because it would be really hard to measure, and it would be dependent on what you had previously eaten. It's even like talking about bioavailability of protein. That is a can of worms of science to unravel, because it's all context based. What do you have in your gut? How healthy is your gut? How functional is your gut? What kind of enzymes do you have at that any given time? I mean, if I lick my fingers after touching a table, I start to change my gut biota instantly. We're talking about lab conditions. Breaking down a protein gives us X. In a given person, it could be way worse or it could be way better. And it could change from minute to minute. So it's like, not such a great example, but we don't look at a scale, the weight scale that we have in our bedrooms, and say, this is the kind of scale NASA would use to put something on the moon, because it's not nearly as accurate. What we want to know is, are we gaining or losing? And that's what you should look at protein in terms of accuracy of digestion, is if I continue to eat 60 grams, 90 grams, 150 grams of protein a day, am I getting a positive result? Am I looking, feeling, and performing better? Or am I looking or performing and feeling worse? And that's the whole context of any food in terms of the way I would suggest that Ray would look at.
And the importance of glutathione, why is that a good reason?
So antioxidants, they're scavengers, right? They're picking up all of those free radicals that have been, we need free radicals too, because the body uses them to kill off things, but it's everything in context and everything in its right percentage, and place, and time. I'm not an expert on glutathione's creation.
That was perfect.
Cool.
I was just trying to kind of give, because people throw that word out there and then they go into glutamate and all the other things. But the reason why your product has it is, or can help bring it in, because you're bringing it into the formula. Not that you have it in there, but it's kind of byproduct.
It's a side effects. I wanted to share one other thing with you. I thought that I hadn't quite shared with you, is that this came up from Leah's research, actually, with Zach. they had been looking for stuff for clients in terms of dealing with depression. And so what they had been taking, they had looked at the use of, this is some research that they found, and they wanted to trial it, and they were using like BCAAs and I want to say tyrosine or taurine, not tyrosine, because tyrosine converts to adrenaline. I think it was there's a couple of the reviewers that were talking about not only fatigue, but also depression that they had dealt with. And so BCAAs, when taken over time by themselves, especially if you're not getting a lot of milk or something that would give you the other amino acids you need to balance them out, what you tend to find is a depletion of the dopamine pathway. And I've always noticed I would take loads of BCAAs, and then I'd wake up one week and I'd be like, man, I haven't been taking my BCAAs for like a week. And I would never know why. And so Zach was like, dude, it's a natural. What happens is you're depleting dopamine. You lose your will to do just about anything. And you stop taking them, because that would happen to me with also, the times when I was taking really high amounts of Amino PRO, I would just know that, you know what, I don't need that now today. I don't need that today. I don't need that dose, or I don't need any.
Yeah.
And I would just naturally know to stop. So when that would happen, I would just follow that lead. So the same thing was going with people with depression. You can imagine people with depression taking BCAAs, you're actually exacerbating the reduction of dopamine, and hence creating more problems, improving, like driving depression maybe. And so by taking BCAAs and taurine and phenylalanine, you actually promote the dopamine pathway. You don't allow it to get depleted, and you deplete serotonin in the brain.
Oh, wow.
And triple whammy. So this product we found with people that have been fighting depression, people are like, man, my energy level's up, my mental clarity's up, libido's up, and I don't have my depression. I mean, they're lowering my medicine that I've been taking for depression, or I'm not taking it. And I'm like, wow.
That's awesome.
Like super crazy. It really got my attention. And so that was one other example I wanted to give you. You guys probably know Genevieve Devereaux from Australia. Mm-hmm. So freak of nature with her athleticism and training, and super food lover and super kind human being. And she's absolutely been a champion for us. Never asked for a penny. She's just a firm believer in the product. It's kind of like you guys, is helping promote what we do, helping reach other people. And she's super active on social media. There's a person that I think she's having some nutritional issues and dieting issues right now, because she's trained so hard. But she was at, like, I want to say at about 125 pounds and muscular and lean. And she was taking about 140 grams of protein a day, of which, and as you think about how petite she is, and she would take consistently 40 caps of Amino PRO to get that total of 140. So we actually look at men at around 140, 150, 120, 150 grams. And she's, 5'2" or something, 140 grams of protein. And she performed like a champ at that level. So everybody, you can't just tell somebody that they need, as a woman, that they need 90. You know, a woman she might be sedentary. She might need less. She might be sedentary, have a really high metabolism, and need more.
Yeah.
You know, or she could be a 6'1" basketball player and need even more, or she might need less. You have to find out where that number is. And like Grace says, it's a moving target. So.
Yeah.
And it's actually nice to know that your intuition will actually show you when and not to take something. It's not to say you have to be regiment about it, as much as like it's there to help you. And what you're providing is a product that isn't going to take 90% of your energy away just to process it. It's going to actually go into your system a little bit easier. It's going to take care of what you're really needing it to do, which is supplement the parts that you can't do, which is really what we want supplements to be like. Like you said, the willow root and the aspirin come from a plant that needs to be processed, and things need to be broken down, because, you know, that's how nature has been giving us these opportunities. I mean, there were
mortar and pestle.
Yeah.
I have one. It's awesome.
There's reasons for why certain things were made certain ways. And And it's just nice to know that there's a product out there that you, with your consciousness and your knowledge, like your base of knowledge is amazing, and your mentor taught you well. Very impressed based on what you've shown to us today. I mean, where besides Amazon can people reach you? And if you have questions, or they just want the math, like, can you break down the math?
We
Like,
listen.
you really
We
want people
love
to
questions. We love questions. That sooner or later, someone's going to ask me a question, the same question. I'm going to figure a different answer. It's going to be more helpful. I don't blog that often. I think I've only got 4 or 5 blogs on. It's empower.life with an I. So I'm power.
Okay.
Although that wasn't the intention. It was just empower with an alternative spelling. And if you go there, there's a bunch of about 4 or 5 blogs. They're short. I'll put up some more shortly that touch on this breakdown. We can be reached on Instagram at Empower Supplements, at Empower Supplements. We're also on Facebook as Empower_Supplements, I think it is. And you can reach us at any of those. And of course, Kevin Ramirez, you can find me on Facebook, I believe, or through any of our contacts. So, Maya, we're hooked up. So if anybody knows you, they can find me, hunt me down, and ask me hard questions. I love questions. I get the same question a lot, so I've got some kind of structured answers that are getting better and better as I write them, and I'll try my best to get a good answer. But I know it sucks because everybody has to do the math, and once they do it a couple times and they realize that a protein is not a protein is not a protein. They're going to be the same category, but they are not as, think of it as, they're not each as efficiently broken into amino acids. And so all meats kind of lump together roughly, eggs kind of separate, dairy's kind of separate. And there's a host of plant proteins that are really crappy inefficient. Like last I checked, I think 6 caps of Amino PRO is like 900 grams of quinoa or 400 grams of cooked quinoa.
What about potatoes and mushrooms? I know those both have high protein in them.
High protein meaning like 10% of their volume.
Oh, for like a vegetable, you're saying? Yeah.
So what I mean is protein, the potato protein, if you process it a little bit, like you turn it into like a protein liquid, like a soup, that Ray talks about doing that.
Right.
The quality of protein, I think potatoes only, the protein is like 10% by volume. So if you turn it into a liquid, which is basically almost all protein, the quality of the protein is similar to milk, or maybe even a little bit better.
Oh,
so it's actually really good. And it's full of these like keto acids that have similar effects to what Amino PRO does in terms of sucking up other things. Mushroom proteins are really interesting to us too. There's a bunch of products we have in the pipeline that when we actually can turn a profit to finish doing the research, maybe pay ourselves a small salary that can buy coffee once in a while if you could.
We'll send you some coffee money if you want us to.
Sweet.
Throw some money in the tip jar.
A GoFundMe for you.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do it. Seriously. So I guess my biggest question is, like, it sounds like you are sold out at the moment, but you're getting you're not. Okay.
I've got over 1,000 bottles in transit to Amazon, Amazon warehouse.
Okay. So people can order them on Amazon basically, or your website, or.
Yeah, so our website right now, we're showing as sold out because Amazon's going to do the fulfillment for us. So we don't want to take orders from anybody until, like, the last thing you want to tell somebody is, we'll take your money, because we've done this dance. We'll take your money and we'll send it to you at some unknown time.
Yeah, no.
Oh, God, yeah, that's no good.
Yeah, it's not good for our reviews.
Yeah, I bet.
Maybe you'll put an announcement on your
so if you get subscribe to your newsletter or something. I
like the way you think, Allison. We need subscribers. We need a mailing list.
Subscribe to Kevin's newsletter, please, so you can be up to date on his.
Or like us on Facebook, and you'll see. We usually, what we'll do is when we do the newsletter, when we have something to say, we'll send up that, and then I'll link to the body of that or a blog on the web page so that people can see it. And then they can read it there if they don't want to sign up to the newsletter. We're not trying to chain you down. We just, usually if we have a sale or some kind of special announcement or something like that, it goes out to people on the newsletter a bit first. So they have a chance to get up. So if there's a time limited promo, like if we put 100 bottles on for a 30% discount or something like that, it'll be on the newsletter people first.
Okay, great.
Well, I can tell
Yeah.
you, I wouldn't have, I know this is just another human being saying something on a screen, but I've been training since I was 16 years old, and I've tried everything from cybergenics, like if
Wow.
anybody remembers cybergenics,
I do.
man, that was
Yes.
all my entire paycheck to buy that. And then a stupid training program and a bunch of pills. But anyways, I digress. I'm tired of getting fleeced.
Yeah.
I really wanted to help. We really want to help people, man. We've all suffered. All of us at some point have either been, at least in my case, grossly overweight, suffering from all kinds of pains and injuries and self-esteem issues and everything. If you've been through it, man, I've been there with you. And if you're going to spend your hard-earned cash on something, it's like if you're going to go in a hotel, the bed had better be better than yours if you're paying money for it. If I'm going to pay for somebody to cook my food, it had better be better than I can cook at home. And if I'm going to buy a product with my after-tax dollars, the damn thing better work and it better not hurt me.
I agree.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, it does.
That sounds awesome.
And we don't want to hurt anybody. We want people to get better. We really do. Everybody deserves. As Socrates says, no one should be no one should be an amateur in the ways of physical fitness, and they should get to know what their body is capable of doing at some point in their life. And everyone should be that. We should not be trapped in a broken down body.
Right.
We really appreciate your time. And then we can also think about having you back on the show, maybe when you have it running and kind of.
Yeah. Keep us up to date on all that. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Next time I will wear the nice red nose. And you guys are awesome. You guys make me laugh.
Oh, thank you. That was fun. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on, Kevin. It was nice to meet you too.